So, this is now part 2 of this week's Disabilities podcast, and to start, we're going to have Parklife by Blur.
Confidence is a preference for the habitual voyeur of what is known as. A morning suit can be avoided if you take a route straight through what is known as. John's got brewer's fruit, he gets intimidated by the dirty pigeons. They love a bit of him. Who's that gut lord marching? You should cut down on your pork life, mate. Get some exercise. I get up when I want, except on Wednesdays when I get rudely awakened by the dustman. I put my trousers on, have a cup of tea, and I think about leaving the house. I feed the pigeons, I sometimes feed the sparrows too. It gives me a sense of enormous well-being. And then I'm happy for the rest of the day, safe in the knowledge there will always be a bit of my heart devoted to it. Nothing to do with your four-sprung dirge technique, you know. And it's not about you joggers who go round, 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 round. All the people, so many people, and they all go hand in hand, hand in hand through their Parklife.
So we were talking about kind of education and how that was affected. And now I want to look at the common kind of misconceptions. So things that people have, questions people ask, things that people think about your disability that some are true, some aren't true. So
I would say one of the classic ones is if you have a hearing impairment, then how can you talk?
Yeah, I've had that with sight as well. That's
Really?
Yeah. Somebody did actually once say to me, "But hang on, if you're blind, how can you talk?"
Yeah, some people had said to me like, "Okay, but if you have a hearing impairment, how come do you speak like another language in English and stuff like that?" I think they don't really understand that. It's not only that. Hearing impairment is not being totally deaf. Some of us can talk, and some people have asked me, "You do not sign." Like, then how are you going to communicate? And, I'm absolutely verbal. I can talk and anything like that. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, that's probably the most popular ones. And the ones that I've commented before is the people that think that once you put your hearing aids on, you magically can hear everything. And, that's probably the most frustrating one for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads I could talk about. There was one I was telling you about earlier. Before we even got into the studio, and it really winds me up. is I'll go out to, let's set the setting for, say, a restaurant. I'll go out and I'll be with, say, whatever, it could be with anybody, it could be with my dad or whatever. And it becomes obvious to the waiter that I'm blind. I've got I've got a braille menu. I've got, my dad's showing me whether my glass is, so I don't knock it over, my glass of drink. And so they'll come over and they will say, they'll ask me what I want, and I'll say, I'll have the cheeseburger. And then they'll turn to my dad and they'll go, does he want onions with his burger? And you think, well, ask me. For one, I just told you what I want.
Yeah.
So you can ask me if I want onions in my burger. Yeah, go on, I'll have some onions. But don't... I don't know. Does that ever happen to you, or?
I think it's that they think that having this disability, any kind of disability, kind of grows into the moment that they think you cannot do anything by yourself, not even choose, what food are you gonna eat, or if you want onions or not. I've never had something as far as that, but I can understand how it feels, when they think that just because you have a little bit more difficulty doing some stuff, then you cannot do anything else.
It happens to me in loads of situations, though. I mean, I'll go through the airport, and as I go through security, they'll say to my dad or whatever, they'll say, what's he got in his pockets? Has he got anything in his pockets? What's that in his hand? Well, first off, what's in my hand is my clip that I take for money when I go abroad, because it's a bit easier when I go abroad. I don't take it everywhere, but when I go abroad I do. And secondly, you're not having it. It's and thirdly, ask me. I can talk.
Yeah, I think it'll come down. I remember in the interview with Andy, we talk about this. Like, all comes down to educate people about what really means to have some kind of impairment. So they realize that we are individuals, that we need our independency, we need to try to achieve as much as we can on our own. It's just a way, we just need a way to facilitate it. I told you sometimes when I go to exams or crowd places and people expect me to listen to them from like the other side of the room in a room full of 100 people yelling, and I'm like, I have this problem, so why don't you come to me and talk to me? And they will just get upset when I don't really listen to them.
I can understand that. And going back to what we were talking about earlier with the body language, it's difficult when somebody, if somebody wants me to shut up or whatever, they might do a facial expression which I won't then see. And then, of course, I'll carry on talking, and people will get annoyed that I've not actually done what they wanted. They wanted me to shut up, and I carried on talking. Yeah,
I think we just need to raise more awareness, and conscience about, what really means, and the understanding of like things we have around school, signs that say, like, when you find a person with a hearing impairment, you need to talk them face to face, tap them in the shoulder before you actually interact with them, call them by their name, stuff like that. But it's not absolutely set yet, because like something I really struggle with is not having subtitles in my TV. Like most of the programs, if I want to watch the news, I don't have subtitles to go with it. So they speak really fast, and so many things going on, and I miss half of the information that I used to get.
That's strange, because like for me, I've got a TV, and I can put audio description on. And it works for any of the channels. I didn't know that subtitles didn't work.
No, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the channel. It depends if the company or the TV show wants to put them or not. It's really strange, and sometimes they go slower or faster than it should, so they don't match the lips of the person. So when you're doing both listening, reading, and lip reading, you cannot do the three things at the same time, because one of them is just not in the same, at the same speed.
Yeah. Okay, probably time that we have another song.
Okay, what are we playing now?
We just had a song, Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. And you were telling me, Barbara, that you didn't actually know that song, so I don't know what you thought of it.
No, I didn't. I didn't know it before. I think, as you can imagine, I'm not really good at guessing songs. So, but I really like it. It was nice.
Yeah, okay. Maybe you'll have to go and download it then. What about things maybe that people do? Maybe because they think they're trying to help you, but they're actually not. Is there anything that you think that people actually do, but they think they're trying to help, but they're not helping?
Yeah, probably shouting.
Yeah, even for me, people come up to me and they go, "What is your name?"
Yeah,
and you know, they'll go, you know, and actually it doesn't help me because actually I've got quite sensitive hearing. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, what I find really annoying is that when they come to you and they shout at you, and then you're like, "Why are you yelling at me?" And they're like,
yeah,
because you can't hear.
Yeah,
I can't hear. I just, I don't need people to be yelling at me. But they don't understand that. It happened to me so many times when you say, I have a hearing impairment, and the next thing you hear is like, okay, how are you today? And
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
I'm not stupid, thank you.
And when I one thing I hate is when I tell people I can't see, and they try and test that. They're like waving from me. Can you see this? Can you see that? Can you see this? That really, really winds me up because they know I can't see it.
Yeah, I know, and you shouldn't be, asking the person if they're telling you straight away, I can see or I can hear. Like, people doesn't believe me when I say I can hear.
Yeah.
Say, you can hear, you have a hearing impairment, but, they think, oh, you look so normal, you're like any other person in the world. That means...
But what is normal? I don't know whether to take that as what is normal? I mean, are they saying that people who are blind or deaf aren't normal? I don't
know. I think it's when it's kind of visual, isn't it? Like, you look like you don't have any hearing impairment. It seems like being deaf or being blind has to go, with a certain physical feature.
Yeah.
Straight away, and it doesn't have to. There's many kinds of hearing aids. Some of them are big, some of them are small. Mine are very tiny, but that doesn't mean anything that I'm less, deaf than any other person.
Yeah. I mean. I don't know. I think people... one thing I find is that I don't like... I'll be, say, going across the road, and what they'll do is they come up to me and they just kind of grab hold of my arm.
Oh, yeah.
To try and lead me across the road. First off, I'm meant to grab hold of your arm. That's the whole point of it. Secondly, come and introduce yourself, because as I said last week when I was talking to, not last week, but a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to Sam, I'm probably more likely to punch you in the face, if anything, because it's just such a shock.
It's just a safety hazard.
It's just such a shock of, I don't know who you are. Yeah, you're probably trying to help, but I actually don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're, trying to...
I mean, that's just being polite, isn't it? You just go to a blind person and, you must... I think you have to have the conscience. If you go to him and then don't say anything and grab him, first thing you think is, oh my God, I'm in danger,
Exactly. And especially with the way the world is now. It's, I was talking to Sam last week, and as he was saying... I keep saying last week. It wasn't last week, was it? But I was talking to Sam, and as he was saying, like, with the way things are now, you go to London, is it knife crime, or is it somebody genuinely wanting to help you?
Yeah.
So, I would much rather somebody just comes and introduces themselves. And if there's sighted people listening today and they know they've done some of these things that we've talked about, then... Okay, just sort of one final question.
Yes.
How, in sort of general, how do you feel about your disability, and would you change it if you had the option?
I think I've come a long way to come to terms with my disability, because when I was first told, I wouldn't acknowledge it. Since I don't have a total hearing loss, I just said, it's fine, I can live without hearing aids. I'll be okay. And I was very cross with myself, and I just refused to get any help. So it took me a long time to just wake up one day and say, okay, I don't really hear anything, and this is getting me in trouble. I think I was very lucky because my disability appeared when I was around between 3 and 5 years old, I think.
Right.
So that meant that I had a chance to learn a language, and I learned how to speak and how to write and how to read before it actually hit me. So I had a good development in that sense that many people with hearing impairment don't have the access to, the chance to develop this good reading stuff. I don't think I won't change it, but sometimes I would really like for people to understand what having hearing loss means, because I think there's still a long way to get to that. And, it just come to terms, this is who I am. I have to wear glasses, and it's the same thing. I wake up in the morning, I take a shower. When I get out, I take my hearing aids, put them on. That's it.
I mean, it's always a tricky question. Would I change it? I think I would. Not because I'm not happy. I mean, I am happy. You know me. I'm sort of make the most of what I got.
Yeah.
But would I change it? Yeah, I'd love to know what it's like to be able to see. There's certain things I didn't know. I'll tell you, this is a good question. This is a really kind of... I've got a couple of kind of follow-up questions we can finish with. What things didn't you know that people could hear?
Well, cars in the street, the dishwasher, the washing machine. I never knew they made any sound. Actually, I had a funny story about that. The first time they actually put... So I've been going to the same doctor, audiologist, for many years, like since I was little. And then I just went there, did the test, and the first day that they put my hearing aids on, the first moment they did, there was music. and I turn around to my dad and say, is there always been music in this doctor office? And he said, yes, it has. And I didn't know. And I was just going there every year for like 20 years. But I never heard it before. So it was a new word for me. But I also have to say that I found difficult to get used to all this new world of sounds at the beginning. And I don't really, sometimes I enjoy just having, a quieter space.
Yeah, one of the things I didn't know that somebody could see until, funny story, till maybe 2 years ago, was that I didn't know that you could actually see, when you're in a car, you could see, not just through your car window, but you could see into the person's car next to you.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know, I only found out when I was sat there on the way home one time, and my taxi driver said, oh, look at him in the car next, he's picking his nose.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, how do you know? And she explained to me like how you can see through other people. I didn't know that.
Well, at least it wasn't a really good view to have, so I don't think you missed anything important that day.
I'm trying to think what other things. I tell you one question I've always got for sighted people. Maybe you could answer. When you close your eyes, what do you actually see? Is it black? Is it just, what is it? When you close your eyes, is it black? What?
When I close my eyes and see black and like little white lights.
Is that what, I don't know, is that what most sighted people see when they close their eyes? I don't know, I guess so.
Yeah, I think so.
If somebody's listening, if there's any way of getting in touch with me to answer this important question, what do you see when you close your eyes? Because I've always wanted to know, and I've always meant to ask that question.
It is an interesting question, I think, because there's a scientific explanation for what we see, but I just don't remember it at this time. But maybe someone can explain it actually further.
Okay, and then my sort of final question, really, I think it's a nice way to kind of end, is would you trade places with somebody who in your family so that they knew what you were going through?
Well, isn't not a family member, but I would like my partner to swap places with me to understand, and so that way he can grow up impatient, which he doesn't have at all. He yells at me a lot, thinking that is the solution, but it's not. So I would really love for him to just trade places one day to understand how is my world, and how much can I hear in reality. And
also remember that you would be able to hear fully with if you trade places with somebody, you're going to be able to hear fully.
I'm not really excited about that. Everyone is so noisy.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think I would temporarily. I wouldn't do it permanently, because as much as I'd love to be able to know what it's like to see, I wouldn't wish anybody to be blind permanently. But I think I'd love to trade places with just a day, just so people can get a better idea, and then they know how to help me better. They know what to do to help me.
It's just a different idea of how we see the world, how is our concept of daily life, everything around us. We sense it in a different way, every one of us. So.
Yeah. So just before we kind of finish off, is there anything else that you we haven't talked about that you'd like to mention, that you'd like to cover?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think we did. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
It's been really good. So we're going to end on a song like we always do. So,
Shyness is nice, and shyness can stop you from doing all the things in life you'd like to. Shyness is nice, and shyness can stop you from doing all the things in life you'd like to. So if there's something you'd like to try, if there's something you'd like to try, ask me, I won't say no, how could I? Coyness is nice, and coyness can stop you from saying all the things in life you'd like to. So if there's something you'd like to try, if there's something you'd like to try, ask me, I won't say no, how could I? Spending warm summer days indoors, writing frightening verse to a buck-toothed girl in Luxembourg. Ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me, because if it's not love, then it's the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb that will bring us together. Nature is a language, can't you read? Nature is a language, can't you read? So ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me, ask me, because if it's not love, then it's the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb that will bring us together. If it's not love, then it's the bomb, then it's the bomb that will bring us together. So